In 1993, Reid, Good AKA Sugeray, was one of the world's top DJs. He then had a breakdown, learnt to meditate, and started a seafood empire. Now, he's on a mission to teach mindfulness and meditation to business owners everywhere. It's a very chilled episode 456 of the award-winning Small Business Big Marketing Show, thanks to American Express.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show, where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back to your weekly dose of marketing meditation. I'm your host, Timbo Reid. You, infinitely more importantly, you're a motivated business owner, and you're ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it absolutely deserves to be. Today's 456th episode is made possible thanks to American Express, whose business card programs can help optimize your cash flow, help grow your business, as well as they offer a pretty good choice of rewards that could have you flying at the pointy end of the plane. Check them out. Google Amex Business to find out more. Big show today. We catch up with an ex-rockstar DJ, Reid Good, who turned his personal and business life around after hitting rock bottom. We even do a little meditation during this interview. LA-based concierge to the stars, Steve Sims, is back to share another simple way to wow those precious clients of yours. I'll tell you about a couple of guests we've got coming up in the coming weeks. But as per usual, team, there is marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow. I can't hear you.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Did someone say something?
Oh, yes, indeedly doodly. You know what that means? It's time for another business building tip to wow those beautifully precious clients of yours, thanks to our great mates at American Express, whose business card programs also make the smart business owner go wow. As usual, all the way from California, we're joined by Steve Sims, speaker and best-selling author of Bluefishing, The Art of Making Things Happen. Simsy, how are you, and how can we wow our beautiful clients this week?
Well, I'm going to tell you why you need to get one of those funny hats on your head. You need to channel your inner Sherlock Holmes for this one.
Oh, okay.
See, I'm here to tell you that you should never give a client what they ask for. You should give them what they need. Now, the trouble is nowadays, most people come to you and they say they want something, but let's be serious. You're the expert. You're in business. You know how to do these things. 9 times out of 10, the people that come to you asking for something, they don't know what they don't know. It's your job. It's your responsibility. It's your obligation to delve in, get your hat on, channel your internal Sherlock, and go, why do you want to do that? Why is this important to you? What is the outcome that you're looking to achieve? Have you looked at other avenues? You've got to start becoming a therapist. You've got to become you in a Sherlock, and you've got to focus on giving them what they need over what they uneducatedly asked you for.
They don't know what they don't know.
They absolutely don't. And why should they? You don't walk into a doctor and go, right, I need you to cut here, splice here, join. No, you go into a doctor and you go, hey, something's wrong. What can I do? And leave it to the experts. You're the expert. That's why you're in business.
It's interesting. It's a talent that great interviewers, and I wouldn't know, but I've heard great interviewers have, which is be curious. You know, keep asking and asking until you get the truth of the answer. You know, instead of that, because often people respond initially, as you say, with what they think they need, or not what they need, what they want. But you just got to keep prodding, asking that why question, and you finally get to the truth.
Well, what they think they want, there's the danger. And that's why I said the uneducated. You don't know what you don't know. You're there to tell them, hey, there's another way to do things. And so that's your job and your obligation.
You provide a really good, and we won't, due to time, Simsy, we won't go into detail, but you provide a great example of this in your book, which involves the Playboy Mansion from memory. Am I right?
Yep.
I quite enjoyed that one. And it took a lot of courage asking the truthful question of your client in order to get to the truth. If people need to know more about that, they are going to have to buy Simsy's book, which is awesome. Bluefishing, the Art of Making Things Happen. However, we are here to make your precious clients go, wow, that is another way. Don't give them what they ask for. Give them what they need. And thanks to American Express, that is another killer way to make your precious clients go, wow. And to find out how Amex can add a little wow to your business, Google Amex Business after the show. Thanks, Simsy.
Bye.
So the year was 1993. The Prodigy had just gone platinum, crop tops were cool, don't know why, and Reid was living the good life as one of the world's top 100 DJs, spinning decks at sold-out raves in London, Tokyo, Berlin, organising large-scale music events. He even owned Australia's most respected import record store and his own record label. But then the good life came to an end, didn't it? He went too hard, too early. Ray was burning out, and so were most of his mates. Eventually, some very good friend tapped him on the shoulder and suggested he try meditation. And from that point on, he's never looked back. He launched a hugely successful, sustainable seafood restaurant empire, which he subsequently sold in order to focus 100% on his real passion. That is helping entrepreneurs and business owners like you and I find their good place via meditation. And as Ray says, and I quote, "The best guy to teach silence is the one who understands noise." End quote. I like that. So in this candid chat, Ray shares his business building strategies, his coping strategies, how he built Hooked into a mini empire, and how and why we should all meditate. Ray even takes us through a beautiful guided meditation, which I think you're going to love. I certainly did. But before we get all peaceful, I started off by asking Ray to describe his crazy life as a DJ.
Woo, pretty crazy. As you just mentioned, made it onto the list of the world's top 100 DJs. But also at the same time, I was building up an empire. I was running large-scale rave parties in Sydney and dance parties. I had weekly club nights going. I had my own import record store and record label as well. So, this was at quite an early age. I guess I was kind of in, this is early 90s. I was probably about sort of 22, 23, living the dream, and juggling a lot, I guess. And, it was inevitable, I guess, that I was going to burn out. And, and it's also the first time I really faced, stress and anxiety in a very sort of, with what I was doing. So
tell us about your lowest moment. I mean, it sounded like a pretty good time. I mean, you're probably having a ball.
Yeah, of course. I was. It was amazing. I was, getting paid stupid amounts of money to go around, basically play records to people up all night. And, it was amazing. It's, it was an, amazing career. But, there's another side to it that, a lot of people don't see. Obviously, the late nights. Back then, people were smoking in clubs, and there's a lot of stress. I mean, promoting was extremely stressful. You'd put on an event and you could easily lose sort of 50, 60 grand in a night. So, there was a lot of stress that goes with that. And, and I started to feel that. I started to, my health started to suffer mentally and physically. And I needed to try and find a way to try and balance it out. So a friend told me about a meditation class. I never knew anything about meditation. I thought it was all crystals, candles, and sandals. And I went along. And, that day changed my life forever. I've had a daily meditation practice for 27 years.
Wow. Yeah. So that rolled off the tongue very easily. We've gone from an incredible period of your life in the 90s through to, I guess, I mean, you didn't use the word breakdown, but I guess there was a dark moment where you hit rock bottom.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, as an entrepreneur or anyone that's in business, we all have to face, anxiety is always in the background. It's part of being an entrepreneur, I guess, and being in business. And but also I was getting, I was having problems with my sleep, and I was constantly getting run down, and I really had to. Find a way to balance that out. So obviously meditation, but also yoga. I got into I really watched what I started to eat, and really, I really looked after my well-being as a way, because I loved my career and I was in it for the long game. So whereas a lot of people around me, I wasn't partying. It actually was a business for me, and I was treating it very much like a business as a long-term career. I wasn't, I wasn't into the crazy party side of it.
Yeah.
I don't even think I drunk back then. I loved music. I loved DJing. I've always been really passionate about music, and and I found a tribe of people that I really connected with within the club scene and then the rave scene in the early 90s in Sydney, and I really felt like I belonged. And, so for me, I was in it for the long game. So I had to find ways to kind of balance it out.
So a wonderful friend clearly taps you on the shoulder, says, try this thing called meditation. What did that do for you?
Well, all of a sudden, at the time, I couldn't stop. My brain was going at a million miles an hour. I just couldn't switch off.
Welcome to the world.
Well, I think the world's caught up with me now, right? Everyone I talk to is in the same boat. It's only, I went through this, all that time ago. I couldn't switch off, and I felt really, I wasn't satisfied with life. I had everything that, we aspire to achieve, and I say this in a way, not in an egotistical way, but in a way of, I had, I was making loads of money. I had all this status and all this stuff, but inside I really didn't feel like there was something missing, and I really didn't feel happy, and there was like a personal happiness that was kind of missing in my life, and I just didn't get it because I'm a working class boy. I grew up in the East End of London, one of the poorest areas of Britain, very working class. I had a terrible education, and you grow up with that, striving and trying to achieve, and you kind of get there, and then it's kind of, you finally reach it, and something's missing. So I guess that kind of that was missing as well. So yeah.
So off the back of that, you get well again, and you decide to start another business in seafood. You leave the DJing scene behind and started a business called Hooked.
I actually maintained a professional DJing career for about 15 years. So all during that time, meditation was a tool to help me deal with a lot of the ups and downs that I kind of faced during my career as a DJ. But, coming to the end of that, I had a little boy, I was married, and decided that, being up till, 4 o'clock in smoky nightclubs and, having constant, we called it club lag, trying to catch up on the sleep. I'd done it. I'd achieved everything I needed to achieve. There was nothing left to achieve, and I felt, I was feeling really bored and kind of, I needed a new challenge. And I actually, I moved to Melbourne and decided to hang up the headphones, leave Sydney, move to Melbourne, and, restart my life. And I chucked myself into opening a chain of restaurants. I had absolutely no experience in food before. I was a passionate cook, but funnily enough, I saw a great opportunity for an idea to open a chain of cool, healthy focused, I guess, fish and chip shops done in a really cool way, really branded really well, and really healthy, nice grilled fish, beautiful salads, brown rice, bok choy. And I actually got the idea when I was in Byron Bay, of all places, DJing. There was a little, an amazing fish and chip shop up there called Fishmongers. It's behind the Beach Hotel, and I was up there one day with this English DJ that I was DJing with up there, and he's going why hasn't someone done this? Why hasn't someone taken fish and chips, rebranded it, and done it in a really cool way? And that idea kind of stuck with me. And being an Englishman, fish and chips is the national meal over there. It's
just understanding that's really interesting. So you've got no experience in this field. You've never owned a restaurant or a cafe. You've not been in hospitality, but you saw, and I love this, you saw an industry that was undermarketed and underbranded. Lots of fish and chip shops around the place. They're all over Australia, as I'm sure they're all over England. But no one had actually taken it up a step and created something cool and funky and healthy. And it's interesting. It's all very well to see that. I mean, I can look around now and probably identify another 3, 5, 10 types of industries that are like that. But to actually then take the step and go, I'm actually going to create one, that's a big step.
It's a massive step. Just to kind of intervene there while this was happening as well. I went through a divorce, lost custody of my son. And so, there was a lot of, I was dealing with personal crisis and suffering. So, I needed a project to chuck myself into as well. And so, I had the energy and the drive. I mean, this was, probably about 12 years ago. So I did. I just, chucked I took that leap of faith and said that, I'm going to make it happen. And I did. And I had a great name for it. That's the other thing. I always get inspired with businesses when I come up with a good name.
Yes, me too.
Came up with the name Hooked. And I thought, that's such a great name. I've got to do this. It's such a great name.
Well, it has that. It's short. It's funky. It's got that element of kind of like, it's so good, I want more. It's fishy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I'm the same. It's funny. You come up with a good name, and it kind of can lay the foundation for what the rest of the business looks like.
I've found that in my career, in a lot of things that I've done, even going back to when I first started throwing parties, I came up with this name, Love. And it was like, what a great name at the time for, it was the summer of love in Britain, just come to an end. It was a great name. So again, that, inspired me to start a whole series of parties. And I found that a lot of the things that I've done have come from these names. And, and now I'm at the good place.
Oh, I love that, which we will come to.
Yeah.
With Hooked. So you launched your first shop, was in Prahran or somewhere off Chapel Street, wasn't it, in Melbourne?
It was in Windsor, on Chapel Street.
And what was the key to its success? Because it went on to have a great level of success. What did you get right?
A lot of hard work, as anyone knows that runs a business. And I guess being in the right time, a bit of luck as well, being in the right place at the right time. When I set it up, my aim was to set up a chain of these restaurants around Australia, potentially maybe a global brand. At the time, I'd been reading so many books I really immersed myself in business books. I went right back, did Dale Carnegie, Jim Collins, the E-Myth, about setting up systems, E-Myth Revisited, a lot of those like classic business books. I really immersed myself in that before I took on this project. And so it was about setting up a business and setting up systems, which was really important. So I think that fundamentally at the start, that helped because, it's about setting up systems. And it didn't, it also helped that, I had one of my, mates down here had a brilliant marketing and branding business that could really
well he introduced us, Paul Finlay. He put us together, and what's his Brands to Life, great business. And tell me about that, because I know Paul is passionate about branding and the visual side of branding. You clearly are too. How important was that in bringing Hook to life?
It was everything. Branding, the way you brand your business is essential, especially today, even more so today. But throughout all my business career so far, branding is absolutely, it says everything about you. Every touch point has to be branded. It's who you are. It's your, it says so much about you. And then obviously Paul, as we've known each other a long time. He actually started off doing the flyers for a lot of my parties back in the early days, and we developed this friendship. But he's amazing at what he does with Brands to Life, and a great mentor as well. I have to say, he mentored me as well through that period, because I'd come to Melbourne I didn't know anyone. I was on my own. And, I had a couple of great mates down here that really helped. And, and at that time as well, in Windsor, there wasn't that much competition. There was only there was a chain of restaurants called Grilled that did like burgers, healthy burgers. I run that business for 10 years. So I scaled it. And of course, the first 2 years, after 6 weeks of me being in this business, I was doing the front of house, because I believe it's really important that you roll your sleeves up, you get in the trenches, and you really immerse yourself in the business. And my chef walked out. He was actually staying with me at the time. I still remember this. Yeah. He was. I confronted him about something, and he goes, "Stuff you." Walked out, and then I remember it was a very dark day. I was sitting there, and I was realizing that I didn't have a chef, and I had this restaurant, and I'm going to have to learn how to cook very, very quickly. And so I spent the next 2 years actually behind the deep fryers cooking, believe it or not, so as well as running the business. So I did everything in there the first couple of years. And so, I really immersed myself in the business, really knew it really well. And I think that's really important with setting up a business and the success of that business probably, because it was a success. It was crazy. We started getting all these great reviews in, the Good Food Guide and then it just took off. It was crazy. There was queues out the door every single night. It was, and I loved it. Really loved being, behind the fryers, doing the cooking, being pumped, as they say. I loved the rush of that. You kind of really get into the zone.
Oh, that's interesting. How many stores did you get to, Ray?
I built it up to three stores, and with 35 staff.
Nice.
Yeah, and did that for, and then I exited from that about 3 years ago. So I ran it for 10 years.
Hey, I'm guessing your business has many, many needs. Maybe you need extended cash flow to bring to life that genius marketing idea that you've been sitting on for way too long. Or maybe you'd love a rewards points program that had you flying at the pointy end of the plane on the trip of a lifetime. Maybe you'd just like a business tool that made running that beautiful business of yours just that little bit easier. Well, here's what I'd do. After the show, check out American Express's range of business cards designed specifically to help small businesses like yours. Simply Google Amex Business to find out more. Now, back to the interview. We're talking to Ray Good from The Good Place. He was a rock star DJ. He's owned a fish and chip shop, a greasy as we call it down here in Melbourne. And now he's a master meditator. Ray, what role did meditation play in Hook's success?
It's been an essential tool to help me deal with the stress and pressure of running businesses. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I don't think I could have done it without that tool. I've got different tools that I use to help me. But yeah, in many, many different ways, not only to deal with stress, but also, to communication with my staff and productivity and focus on so many different levels.
Well, you sold Hooked and now you're 100% focused on the business of mindfulness and meditation.
Yeah.
Was that a scary decision to kind of leave what was clearly a successful business behind and launch into something that I'm guessing many people still don't get?
It's a new industry, absolutely. It feels you'd be surprised, actually. Most people get it. Most people actually are doing it. It's actually surprisingly becoming very, very mainstream, very, very fast. But it is a new industry. I think it's only in the last 5 years that it's really kind of exploded into the mainstream consciousness. Before that, it was all, as we said earlier, it had the worst, meditation had the worst branding that you could think of. It was all crystals, candles and sandals. So, but that's all changed. And it's changed, I think, because of two things. The first one, stress.
Yeah.
We're living in a world.
He laughs.
Stress is, we're living in a world that's very sort of volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous. We're struggling with time scarcity, hyperconnectivity, information overload and constant distraction. And we just can't switch off or unplug. And of course it's taking its toll. We're having problems sleeping, we're having problems focusing. And, of course, mental health conditions such as anxiety and depression are skyrocketing. The World Health Organization says that depression is the biggest health issue globally now. And stress is also the leading cause of ill health in the workplace, resulting in burnout, increased absenteeism and presenteeism. So it doesn't matter if you're a full-time puppy cuddler, we all feel stressed.
I want to talk more about the whole mindfulness and meditation movement and how it impacts how it can positively impact the business owner. But why don't we practice one right now, Ray? Is that a good idea?
Yeah, let's give it a go.
I'd love that, mate.
For all those out there that have never tried a meditation, let's do a simple 2-minute micro meditation, as I call it. And this is great. You can use this throughout the day if you're feeling a little stressed, scattered, or before a meeting or a presentation, or just to have a little break between tasks, just to give you a chance to sort of reset, refocus, and recharge. What do you think?
I think that's an awesome idea. If I fall asleep, just sort of tap on the microphone to wake me up.
Tim, are you there?
Yeah. Jamie, if you could just dull the lights in the studio, please, and light the candles. All right, buddy, I'm ready when you are. This is awesome. And by the way, if you are driving or if you are handling,
we have to put a disclaimer in here. If you're driving, don't do this meditation while you're driving.
If you are chopping down trees with chainsaws, which you probably wouldn't be listening to the show if you were doing that, but if you are doing something that requires you to just take your mind off for a while, then just stop what you're doing.
Yeah. Okay, so this meditation is called a stop meditation, and it's an acronym it means stop whatever you're doing right now, take a couple of nice deep breaths, observe your experience, and then proceed mindfully. So with a lot of the people that I coach and the businesses that I coach, obviously, just doing a very simple 1 or 2 minute meditation a couple of times during the day, they get a lot of benefit out of it. So we'll begin this meditation just making sure that you're comfortable. And if you can, make sure your back's nice and straight. And closing the eyes if that feels comfortable. You can just lower your gaze gently in front of you in a very loose and unfocused way. And so we'll begin this meditation just by taking a couple of deep breaths. So breathe in through the nose, down into the belly, and then out through the mouth. So breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. And then we're just going to observe our experience right now. What's going on? What's the weather pattern like inside? What thoughts are here? What feelings? And then just bring your awareness to the whole body sitting here. Just being aware of any sensations in the body. You might feel some tension in the shoulders. Just have an awareness of whatever's going on in the body. And then just bring your awareness to the body breathing. Maybe you can bring your awareness to the expansion and contraction of the breath down in the abdomen. Just sort of rest your attention here on the in-breath and the out-breath. We're not trying to control the breath in any way. We're just feeling the breath coming in and going out. If your mind wanders off and you get caught up in thinking, planning, worrying, without judgment or evaluation, you just bring your attention back to the sensation of the breath and just start again. And then as our meditation finishes, just bring your awareness back to the space around you. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and proceed with your day with a little bit more calm, clarity, and focus. Tim, wake up.
Where are we? Who's this on the phone? Hello, Ray.
Hey,
that was beautiful, mate. I am a meditator, and there are some days where I forget to meditate, and when I do it again, I'm reminded of just how beautiful it is, and it's incredible. I mean, what was that? 2 minutes, and it can make such a shift in your mind.
Absolutely, just even 1 minute counts. Just to stop and just take a break. It's really powerful, and I guess this is the reason why it's exploding globally at the moment.
I learned a great technique a few years ago called JAM, which is the acronym for just a minute. And it was simply just to set a little beep on your phone or your watch or your computer on the hour, which many watches do that anyway. And it was just a reminder to take 1 minute and to sit in silence and to observe your breath. That was it. Nothing else. And boy, it's a cleanser. That's what it is. It just cleanses your mind of all that noise that's going on throughout your day.
Yeah, it helps you. It just calms the mind, settles the mind a little bit. And there's also a whole lot of science behind. When we actually focus on our breath, we activate our parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest, and that's the opposite to the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight, the stress response. And that's one of the reasons why meditation is really powerful in helping us to deal with stress. And just to, it's nice just to power down for a couple of minutes and, before we power back up and getting into our day. So, for doing a couple of these, I look at doing a couple of these little meditations during the day, really powerful way just to reset and refocus.
I was listening to a podcast only last week with Oprah and Eckhart Tolle, who wrote The Power of Now. And this particular episode I was listening to, they were talking about the space, that we've got to find the space in between the madness, which is what we just did then. Yeah. We all just did then collectively, and it's such a nice thing to do, where that space in between, of what's that order I've got to put in, and what's that marketing I've got to do, and who's that client I've got to reach out to, and I've got to pick the kids up, and it's just noise. And if you don't actively seek out those little moments of space, then you go mad, and that's why the world is going mad. That's why anxiety is on the massive increase.
Absolutely. We don't just take the time just to stop and take a little break. You're absolutely right, Tim.
Ray, exactly. I think you're onto something here, mate. So you've turned this into a business. I love it. thegoodplace.com.au is where people can go and do what? How do you turn this into a business? Are you going into businesses and get everyone to stop? What are you doing?
So at the moment, I'm a solopreneur. I don't, it's just about me and my message and trying to get people into their good place. So I do one-on-one coaching with people, mindfulness coaching, and then I go into businesses. I work with a lot of high performers, business leaders, and forward-thinking companies, and run workshops about how we can cultivate mindfulness, but then also how we can be more productive, improve our performance.
How do you sell it? Is it a hard sell?
At the moment, mindfulness is it's been over the past 5 years. I think everyone has heard of mindfulness. You'd have to be living under a rock to not have heard of mindfulness. A lot of workplaces are seeing that not only does it lower work-related stress, but it also improves sort of well-being and happiness, improves performance. But then you can also get a competitive advantage out of it. So it's kind of a win-win situation. And you look at a lot of the half the Fortune 500 now offer mindfulness meditation training to their employees. You've got companies like Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, Goldman Sachs, PwC. So in America, it's obviously it's massive. And I mean, you've only got to look at the number of people in the United States over the last 6 years. The number of people practicing mindfulness meditation has tripled from 4% of the population to 14.4%. And it's currently being used by 35 million people. And the meditation app Headspace has been downloaded 20 million times. So it's a $1.2 billion industry in the States alone. So as I said, everyone, most people have heard of mindfulness when I go in and talk about it, and people are really receptive because we are living in a world that's just so fast-paced, and we need the tools. And this is a tool to help you kind of cope with that.
What do you say to the business owner listening who either says this is all woo-woo nonsense, and I think you've proved it's not, or they say, look, I just cannot simply find the time. I can't find the time to go out and grab a sandwich, much less sit in stillness and, not do anything.
Well, I hear that all the time. And so I don't have time. I can't find the time. Well, I say to them, you talk about Oprah earlier. If Oprah's got time to meditate, you've got time to meditate. And there's a reason that many of the world's top performers, are turning to mindfulness. It's not because they've got tons of free time. It's because they're going to be less stressed. They're going to be more productive and efficient. And they're going to reach their goals a lot faster. So the truth is that you don't have the time not to meditate. Investing 2% of your day into a practice that's going to radically improve the other 98% of your day is a good return on investment. And I don't know, you've got to invest in yourself and your mental health. Meditation and mindfulness, in the same way we exercise to look after our bodies, we can think of this as exercise for our minds and our brain. And that's the way that it's being looked upon by a lot of people now. It's being taught in schools. The British government 3 weeks ago announced that it was rolling out a new subject across 370 schools in Britain called mindfulness, with 1 in 8 English school children suffering from a mental health issue. They're rolling it out in schools. Hospitals, prisons, the military, as we mentioned before, and a lot of corporations, are all turning to mindfulness and meditation. So I think it's like yoga in the 70s, jogging in the 70s, yoga in the 90s. It's the next big public health revolution.
You are the Richard Simmons of 2019. Aerobics
I thought he was going to say Jamie. I was the Jamie Oliver of meditation.
Well, that would have been a much nicer thing to have said, because I like Jamie. Richard was a bit...
I love Jamie too.
Yeah. Oh, I love it, Ray. Good on you, buddy. I just think you're doing good things, and it's in a world that really, really needs what you have to offer. So I hope the Good Place is as successful as Hooked, and as successful as your DJing career, and that it's all up from here.
Thanks, mate.
Good on you, mate. Namaste.
Thanks, Tim.
Well, there you go, team. Ex-DJ turned mindfulness entrepreneur, Ray Good. And a big thanks again to Paul Finlay from marketing agency Brands to Life for connecting me with Ray. A very, very good connection. By the way, Ray's kindly donated a coaching session to one lucky listener who enters the Monster Prize draw. So be sure to send me in your emails around what marketing's working. tim@timreid.com.au. If I read it on air, you win. Now, here's what grabbed my attention from that chat with Ray, thanks to American Express. Attention grabber number 1, start to meditate. Invest in yourself. If you're not including that as part of your daily business and personal ritual, I think it'd be a really, really good thing to do. Attention grabber number 2, great names can be the start of a great business idea. I love this thought. I've often thought that. Ray clearly thinks the same. So if you need to name a business, maybe you've got to name a new product or service or package that you're putting together, come up with a good name. It gives it energy and you'll find yourself getting a little bit more excited than you normally would. Attention grabber number 3, every touch point has to be branded. I like this. Ray's big on branding. I've looked at the Hooked branding when he started that. His branding for The Good Place, which is his new business now, is fantastic. And he makes sure that whether it's the business card or the website, his imagery, it's all beautifully consistent. And I tell you what, it doesn't cost any more to be consistent than it does to be not consistent. That's what grabbed my attention. I would love to know what grabbed yours. Head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/456 and let me know. Well, that almost wraps up a very chilled episode 456 of the award-winning Small Business Big Marketing Show. Thanks to American Express and thanks to Amex in particular for the wow segment that they make possible. I hope you're getting some real benefit out of that. Got some solid interviews coming up in the coming weeks. Next week, we are going to meet a young fellow from Brooklyn, New York, who from his university dorm room has created an online store selling vintage watches worth tens of thousands of dollars. In fact, his business this year turned over $2.3 million, or I should say last financial year turned over $2.3 million. If you've got someone you think I should interview, send me an email, tim@timreid, reid.com.au, and I'll have a look at that. And don't forget, there's an entire back catalogue of interviews over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. If you love the show, let other business owners know about it. But until next week, I'm Timbo Reid. Thanks for tuning in. May your marketing be the best marketing. Bye for now.